recording is on.
Welcome. What's up, peers, and welcome to World Crypto Network. Here again, not live because Google Hangout sucks. So we're going to record it and upload it ASAP. The show, open source everything. And we are talking about amazing software and hardware. Today we got both. We got on the one hand, Nicolas, the developer of the amazing BTCPay Server. What's up, Nicolas? How are you doing?
Thanks for inviting me. I was thinking also to open source Google Hangout and Jitsi because it doesn't work properly.
Oh, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. But well, what can you do? We make somehow work with it. And if it annoys us too much, we make it obsolete. And we're also joined by Ketamine, who's developing on the full node hardware with cool implementations. Novel, what's up?
Hi, thanks for having me again.
Oh, yeah. Always nice chatting with you. Smart mind and actually doing something. So that's really nice. So Nicolas, what were the problems with Bitcoin, and what led you to actually developing BTCPay Server, and why was that?
So like last year, as you've seen, there is the 2x bullshit that came around, and so it was quite of a shock for me in the sense that people were very focused into the decentralization of Bitcoin from a miner perspective or from a node perspective, but actually there is another dimension that has been neglected, is having proper decentralization also the infrastructure, because Bitcoin Core by itself is very hard to use. So like you always need kind of layer above it to deal with Bitcoin. And it turns out that if there is not this crucial part, like people just rely on centralized server, like nullifying the benefit of Bitcoin. And we saw the danger of it like last year during the 2x stuff. And BitPay wanted to migrate all of their merchants to a fork of Bitcoin, basically. And they were calling it Bitcoin. It was highly deceptive. And so in the past, I advised lots of people to use BitPay, and those people basically didn't want it to migrate, and you can't ask them, to redevelop their backend to another service. So I developed BTCPay as a way for people I advise to use BitPay to have an easy way for them to migrate if they switch to 2x. So yeah, that's how it got started basically. By the way, Max, I don't hear you. You muted your mic, I think.
Good call. Yes, and you speak about the importance of true decentralization, not just on the consensus layer, and that we all should be running our Bitcoin full nodes, but also on the infrastructure level. So these services that we are using to talk to Bitcoin, right? To talk to this network, that's not just a full node. That's your wallet.
Yep.
That's your block explorer. That's your APIs. That's everything, right?
Yeah.
Including the payment processing.
Yeah, everything, even wallets right now are quite centralized. So, for example, a very good wallet is Samurai Wallet, but the problem with Samurai Wallet is actually it's using their servers, and you can't use your own server to run Samurai Wallets, which is problematic typically. So I think at the in the layer part, it's also problematic. I think Lightning, for this matter, is better. Because in Lightning right now you start having the mobile wallet that can directly connect to your LND or to your C Lightning. I think it's a way better model, and it's happening on Lightning because it's way simpler to develop on.
Okay, so Michael, what do you think so far?
It's cool to finally hear the story behind the BTCPay. Probably noticed I mentioned Nicolas a lot on your show because basically without him our product would not exist today. So I'm very happy to finally talk with him.
I'm actually happy to talk with you as well. I had no idea that you were doing your hardware and you were quite advanced on it. So
I think that's a great lesson about our community. Actually, many people are doing many things we don't know about each other, and that's why all these conferences are for, these hackathons and all this stuff.
Yep, definitely. And like you managed to run BTCPay on ARM architecture. I wanted to try this. I didn't know if it was really possible, even if in theory it was possible, and it is. So I'm happy to know about it as well.
Yeah, so cool that it's already taking off. BTCPay Server, it's already actively being used. So what are the things that BTCPay Server actually does, right?
So what it does is basically, so it's very easy to set up. I made sure that it's easy to set up, because if you have like 10 pages of tutorial to set it up properly, like nobody will do it. So actually, I think half of the development was making the deployment experience easy. Actually, it's really hard. But finally, I managed to make it with Docker. And what it does is, when you install it, you have your own server where you can easily create what we call the store and create invoices with this. And you have an API very easy to use that you can connect to. And the API is basically the same API as BitPay. And the reason I took the same API is, when these 2x things happen, like I said, I wanted the merchant to migrate to BTCPay, but the merchant don't have resources to redevelop backends, and I don't have resources to develop, plugins on all different e-commerce web shops. So the goal was really like to fork everything BitPay has done and to replicate their API. And so I can like rely the most I can on their open source MIT licensed plugins that are around. And it works quite well. I think it was the right decisions. I don't like their API, so we will change it in the future. And one another thing BTCPay does that is very cool is, like, when you install it, it also installs your LND or C-Lightning node. And actually, it's if you are interested into getting involved into Lightning Network, actually the easiest way to get started is to use BTCPay, because I made the setup very easy. So even if you don't care about BTCPay, you can just ignore it. But if you want to set up your own LND or C-Lightning, you can use BTCPay. It's the most simplest way you can have it running and work.
That is really cool to kind of sneak in the new cool and interesting tech under the hood, and users just have it and they can use it. That's amazing. The standards and the usability, and it's really important.
And I think there is also something that lots of people are overlooking is, when you have a server that is always connected, then things that are very difficult to do or next to impossible or are very, trade-offs become feasible. So take an example, for example, atomic swap. If you wanted to do atomic swap between two coins, it's very hard to do it on mobile device, because if you get disconnected at the wrong moment, then the exchange can't happen correctly. But when you have a server that is always connected, you don't have this sort of issues. So same thing for if you want to receive payments on Lightning, you need to be online. If you have a server, then it's not a problem anymore. So I think lots of things that are coming with BTCPay will take advantage of the fact that it's online. And I think lots of things can be done.
So Nicolas, you spoke about the easy setup of the BTCPay server. Kato, how did you experience that? How was working with the BTCPay server from your end?
So I've actually used the hard setup version of BTCPay Server. What Nicolas and other guys from BTCPay made is wonderful for people who want to set it up in I think it's 2 clicks or 3 clicks. It's really amazing. But what I wanted to do with our service, because we have the boxed version of BTCPay, where you have the online version of BTCPay as well, and we wanted to make it as reliable as possible. So what we did is a full deployment, like you would deploy some web application or some bank website, with load balancers in the front, multiple instances of Bitcoin D and LND. We have some file system synchronization, so if your LND crashes, you don't lose your keys, you don't lose your state of your Lightning node, because we know what can happen if you lose the state of your Lightning node and restore a backup. And clustered database, and actually there is a pull request now for MySQL support in BTCPay Server, which I pushed for. It's mostly to use a clustered database called Galera. This way we'll have a way to use the BTCPay with one of the best database clusters available in the world. And
why no blockchain?
You don't need a blockchain for that, Max. So yeah, and actually I'm amazed, because I mean, we had a few issues deploying it, and every time you have any problem, you get the answer in minutes, literally, because of Nicolas and mostly two other guys on the Slack, Bitcoin shirt, and Rockstar developer. I love that guy.
Well, then the question is, Nicolas, do you ever sleep, or do you just not do that?
No, for real, I do once in a while. But like, I really love coding, so when I need to relax, I just code. You know, it's refreshing. So and especially like for a project like BTCPay that is very interesting. Yeah, I get sleep problem after, but once in a while I collapse and I go to bed. It happens.
Yeah, well, that's all part of it. But you mentioned that you have a passion for it, and that really shows. And so, what was your experience throughout developing this? What have you learned? Where have you grown?
That's developing something that involves money is scary a bit. So I learned many things. For example, for a long time, I was a Windows only guy. Microsoft recently pushed like .NET Core that works on every platforms. And actually, like for a Windows guy, like the last year, especially this last year, and since I started BTCPay, I jumped into the Linux world, and now I see how it's superior for server setups. I also learned a lot about Docker, and because it's thanks to Docker that it's so easy to make updates. And other thing is that like BTCPay never hold your private keys. So this is a very good security model, because like people don't have to trust me. The worst that can happen is if the software is malicious, is that maybe you have 2 or 3 invoices that get hijacked, but I can't get access to all of your funds. But still, even with this, actually, I had one bug that made somebody lose a bit of money. And for me, it was very, I was very shocked that this field, like even if you don't hold the private the key, then you can have this sort of problems. And so just for the story, the problem was about a change. So for when you create a new invoice in BTCPay, you have the invoice that show up, and you have the rates that is taken from the exchange. And I decided that if so the rate I wanted to change so that I round up 2 decimal. So like, for example, 1 Bitcoin equals 6,150 cents, 50,50535, blah, blah, blah. I will just truncate it to be 6,005 cents. It makes sense, right? Like, but the problem is that I'm supporting Dogecoin. And when you support Dogecoin, then the price of one Dogecoin is less than 1 cent. So it was, it's very, you have to be very careful on developing this kind of software. Even if we don't hold the key, it was quite a shock for me. I think the biggest shock for me this year.
Oh yeah, and the question right here is who truly is responsible, because it is open source software. So when you run it, you see all these changes, you see the code, and you should at least read something before you use it, right? You should know at least the basics of it. But of course, not everyone has these skills of really digging deep and finding these bugs. And of course, there are bugs, as with every software. So it really is tricky, especially because we're not just handling random, non-scarce information. We're actually handling scarce and precise information, money, right? And that means that you can lose it. And that has never happened before in the context of software.
So the problem is even worse in Lightning for Lightning setups. So for Lightning setup, Ketominer have very smart solutions to try to decrease the chance to lose your data. But basically, in Lightning, if you lose your node, you cannot create backup of your node, and if you lose your node, your money is basically gone. So that's why I always tell people to not put too much money on like what they can afford to lose. So it's this is a scary part, yes.
Yeah, and especially when you're on the receiving side, right? Because you can't avoid that someone will send you some big amount of money on BTCPay using Lightning, and you're on the receiving side. You have to control the channel, to close the channel, and hopefully pray for it to close successfully and get the Bitcoin. So
I'm hopeful in the future that the protocol will evolve and it will be better, but right now, like, it's still reckless.
Exactly. That's why Michael here has the shirt on, right?
Yeah, I've put this specially for you today.
Well, but that is a tricky mindset, right? It is kind of like let's break things and improve them after, or is reckless more of the let's still use early technology, but yet let's use it in as a responsible way as possible.
Yeah, I think so. The important, it's also Bitcoin. You are responsible of your own money, and so the best developer can do is like to put big warnings, like you can lose your money, so don't put too much. And in general, people follow it. There is no account of somebody losing like tons of money, from Lightning, just because they minimize the loss. And it's doable. So myself, for example, by mistake during my test. So every time I'm doing, I have a batch of tests for BTCPay, but I'm also testing manually on my own deployments before sending it. And one day by mistake, I deleted one of my nodes that had Lightning and like some donation payments to it. Well, it's added to the deflation pool now, but it happened also as well to me. So it's for Lightning.
The infamous boating accident.
Yep, or boating accident. Yeah. But yeah, so don't put too much on Lightning. That's my main advice right now. And as far as BTCPay, like, so most merchants use it in the correct way, where like periodically, like maybe every day or every week, they like send the funds down to an exchange or to convert, either to convert it in fiat, or like they check, their accountants that it match. They should do that as well time to time, just to make sure that nothing is things are okay.
Kato, how do you experience that with providing a full node service? Because because here at least you don't have the keys, right? That's not similar. But nevertheless, this is the interface to the blockchain and to the Lightning Network. So, I mean, I imagine there are many possible attack vectors, and how do you remedy with them?
So one thing which is great with BTCPay is that when you go on the homepage of the server, you see if your node is synced. That's already a very good indicator of if everything is fine or not, and it will actually not let you create an invoice or accept payments as long as you're not perfectly synced with the network. That's one thing. The second thing is, I mean, we are kind of in the hardware industry, even if it's more assembling ready-to-use parts than anything else. But the supply chain attack is definitely something we need to mitigate. And how we do that is actually using what Frank Brown presented in Prague this year. We will be posting all the update scripts on our GitHub, and they will be signed using the code chain from Frank Brown. We've just set up the DNSSEC on our secondary domain name because the funny story is we registered this nodal.it domain name, but hi Giacomo, Italians don't know anything about DNSSEC yet, so we had to use another domain name for DNSSEC and signing the code.
So there is another thing I want to mention about the. So one of the nice things of BTCPay, as I already said, is that it never holds private keys. But like still, there is some features that people are asking that at one point means that BTCPay will need private keys. So one of the features is, for example, auto forwarding to an exchange. Lots of people are asking for this. So for technical reason, I can't just take the address of the exchange and show it in the invoice. I won't go too much in technical matter, but I can't do that exactly. So I need to receive it on a special address and then forward it to an exchange. And it means that BTCPay at one point will need like this private key, being a hot wallet. And the way I'm so for me, it has been always. I try to delay that as much as possible, because if there is a problem in BTCPay, then you can lose all the money that is inside the hot wallet. But I think I found a nice solution to this issue is to not. I will have a hot wallet, but in the user interface, I will not allow the user to store money directly on it. So basically, it will be always auto forwarding. So like the hot wallet will receive the money and auto forward either to your hardware wallet where I don't have your key, or to an exchange. And it means that the only money at risk is always the money that just transmits for a short period of time on BTCPay. So yeah, it's this security consideration that is very specific to crypto world.
Okay, and so in this setup, would you have for a brief time custody over these funds, or is this auto forwarding set up in a way that there's no chance that you could interfere with the funding?
Well, there is still the chance that like the keys are compromised. So the thing is that it doesn't change the security model, because if BTCPay is compromised, already they can change, the destination address of the invoice. Okay, so this part of the security doesn't change right now. If I put the keys and I forward directly, basically I'm not changing this model. If BTCPay is compromised and the key are compromised, then they can steal the money. But it's not different from just changing the address on the invoice. So like it doesn't change anything to the security model. The only part that might be problematic, but I'm not a lawyer, so it's not my problem. That is that. So there's some people that are providing BTCPay. So one BTCPay server for several merchants, it's possible. And so merchants don't have to set up their own server. And it means that if they do this and there is this feature of auto forwarding, then for a short period of time, this host is like custodian in the legal term. So it might be an issue, it might not be. On my side, I'm not taking too much time thinking about it because I try to push as many people as possible to have their own full node, so we don't have this kind of issues.
Michael, how do you think that running a full node can solve that, and maybe, of course, then the nodal, which is a full node and directly integrated with BTCPay?
I don't think it really solves the custody problem if someone chooses to send the money on a wallet which is running on the node itself. That's probably a big issue, and thanks Nicolas for mentioning that, because actually we are thinking about having the wallet feature of Bitcoin D enabled on the node, and maybe it would be great for some applications to have it actually disabled in the code. So people.
So here is the thing: is that the tricky thing. Imagine that you are deploying BTCPay Server on Azure. Does it mean that Microsoft need to be a money transmitter license? And if yes, it means that in the future you can't deploy app easily anymore. Then you need to fill KYC for deploying any app on any cloud. So it's nobody knows really too much about it. This case just start to happen because of BTCPay, and we'll see if I have no idea what will happen. Basically, I'm not a host myself, but it will be interesting for sure.
Maybe we'll see happening something like we have this license for storing medical data. Maybe there will be some license for storing cryptocurrency data one day. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I'm always wondering how effective such kind of solutions are. But well, it's yeah, as you say, we can't expect every host provider to to monitor what the customer are doing on their own on the machine they are hosting. So
yeah, and where do you set the limit? Because Azure is virtual servers, so let's say that the user is more responsible for. I mean, the host is more responsible for what's happening on the real hardware. But if you rent some server at OVH or online, and you are fully responsible for what you install on it, who's responsible for losing your money if something happens?
This is an interesting point I want to mention. I'm not a good marketer in the sense that I really, tell the bad story to people, but just I want people to understand that they're in, having control of your money. You need to be aware of certain things. But for example, Luna Node, that is one of the easy to deploy one-click solution. Recently, I think 1 week ago, they had an outage on their data center. If I am either their data center or a part of OVH they are using, I don't remember very much. But end of the story, they lost the data of some server that was in the rack that crashed. So the hosting provider lost, really the data of the server is gone. And so if people had lots of money on it, like our Lightning node, then it will be gone. So I think it will be interesting. We never had big issue of people losing big money, because in general people that have big money are quite responsible and plan for this kind of stuff. But we really need to educate people to not be too much reckless. So.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the base selling point of Bitcoin, right? It is financial self-sovereignty. It is that you control your own money and not the state. And this is inherent in Bitcoin. And that's why everything in Bitcoin is pushing towards this, right? So the importance of stressing that you should run a Bitcoin full node. Even if it's just on a Raspberry Pi, you could also put it on a phone, right?
So here is the thing, that not only you need to run your own full node, but you should use it. So if you are using Samurai Wallet, for example, you are not using your full node. There is a feature in Samurai Wallet where you can plug it to your full node, but actually it's like just for broadcasting. You are not really using your full node. Your UTXO, the information of your wallets come from their API, from the API of Samurai Wallet. So it's not really self-sovereign. And that's what I'm trying to push with BTCPay. Like, you cannot expect people to run their own full node and start using it because it's so inconvenient. But once you have like the proper infrastructure on top of it and the proper UI in front of it, then they will start using it. So it's what I'm focusing.
And so, Kato, how do you experience the interface with the full node? Because that's something that's true. That's on this Raspberry Pi. It's quite difficult to interact with.
So yeah, actually there is a part we never mentioned in this stack, which is the Explorer, which interfaces between BTCPay and Bitcoin D and other coins actually, if you want. Actually, that's where we have the most stability issues on ARM currently. It just stops working without any error, without crashing. It just stops and doesn't process requests anymore.
You should try the new version, because I did lots of refactoring that simplified lots of stuff recently. So maybe in the new version is better. But it's interesting you tell me this. I will need to dig around.
I mean, it's a test box, so maybe because we basically what we do when there is a new version, we just git pull build and run.sh. So maybe we created some instabilities as well while testing. So now we are testing on a clean environment. But anyway,
one thing also is always try versions that are tagged. Because between master, it's not always working. Yeah. When it works, I tag the new version basically.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we never talk to the full node to Bitcoin D directly. The configuration is pretty simple. We just open the local port for RPC and we allow the local IP address to connect to itself, and that's it. So yeah, it really makes the full node experience very pleasant for receiving payments. Of course, for send, if you want to run a wallet and send payments, it's another story. But we don't have to do that with BTCPay, except if you want Lightning. Lightning is another story. It's as we said before, it's not somewhere you should put a lot of money. It's not something you can back up. It's the different implementations have very different trade-offs. We are using LND because let's say it's a reference implementation, but we may switch to C Lightning actually pretty soon because of limitations in LND.
And so on my side, I'm using time-to-time LND because it has like Zap wallet that you can easily connect to. But recently there is a C Lightning that came with a Spark wallet. And actually Spark, I want to integrate it inside the BTCPay experience as well. And as stability, I think personally from my experience and from the people that try both LND and C Lightning, C Lightning seems way more stable right now, more stable than LND. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, once I set up the Spark wallet on BTCPay, I think I will advise people to use C Lightning right now.
Yeah, and also what's coming in C Lightning, where I don't know the time frame, but there was that guy talking in Prague, Stepan Snigirev, and he's working on how the wallet support for C Lightning, so he's refactoring and modularizing the code, so you will be able to use a secure element connected on USB to your full node, and that would be the ultimate setup actually for I think for BTCPay and for our hardware device. because this way you will have your private keys from your Lightning wallet on this USB key, which will never leave this USB key, and C Lightning will be just sending the transaction to sign to this key.
I think that's a very great idea, but so it means that on your box you will allow people just to plug this kind of external like hardware wallet for Lightning.
Yes. We need to let. We're actually working on many additional features using different hardware devices. For example, if you have a cold card, if you sign a transaction and put it on an SD card, since we are not using the SD card on the motherboard we are using, you can just put the SD card in your full node and it will broadcast the transaction directly. Another idea was to use open dimes for something. I don't know yet what exactly, but for example, to offload the content of your Lightning wallet, maybe directly, you will just plug in locked open dime. It gets the public address and sends your funds to the open dime directly, something like that.
Nice. One thing I want to mention as well is very soon. I mean, very soon. I'm still not working on this, but I plan to. BTCPay will have support for PSBT. So it will make this kind of integration way more simpler, I think.
And that is something that I was wondering earlier, combining the auto forwarding of transactions to, for example, exchanges with partially signed Bitcoin transactions, so that your auto forwarding, so to say, is only generating these partially signed transactions. And then forwarding them to, for example, the cold card that only accepts these PSBT, and then the hardware wallet or just the software wallet could then only just auto sign it because it trusts you that, or it trusts the BTCPay that it generates a good transaction, but it's only the signing, no additional stuff.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would be a great idea. Like really, where indeed the signing verify that you're sending to an address that belongs to the exchange. That's very cool idea, I think. Yeah, I like it.
So, Kate, I forgot. Do you have a working wallet inside the Nodl as well?
No, you don't have a wallet. We don't want to store keys because it's. I mean the hardware is pretty good. We have zero loss for a while on the motherboards and all the SSDs we're using, but it's still cheap commodity hardware. Which, I mean, you put it in your shop burns, you don't have your wallet. And we can't count on users to make backups. That's a fact. So yeah, I think we shouldn't store. I mean, we shouldn't run a wallet, at least a hot wallet, on the device. What we are trying to do anyway is to integrate as many third-party software as possible. So we talked the other day with Adam from Wasabi Wallet. It would be probably great to have it running on the node in a splitted way. So the daemon part of the wallet would run on the node, and the UI would run on another computer, and you just connect to the wallet when you need to. This way, also your coin joins could run while you're away from your computer. And the same with BISC. Actually, I would love to have BISC running on the full node. Again, without the UI part, and just run the UI on your laptop or any computer when you need to. That's a big challenge because these codes were not really designed to separate the UI from the underlying layer. So yeah, I mean, we have some ways to circumvent that using some remote connection, like a VNC or something, but that's not ideal.
Oh yes, and I love the Wasabi wallet, of course, and I talked to Adam a bit, and it is using Bloom, not Bloom filters, but it's a neutrino client with Golem Rice filters, and these are amazing because they protect your privacy. You don't query other full nodes for individual transactions, but rather for an entire block that might contain a transaction that you're interested in. And the cool thing with this kind of approach is the added privacy and a much better and secure way of using SPV wallets. But it consumes a lot of electricity, a lot of battery. And that's why Wasabi currently is not yet out on phones, because it would drain too much battery keeping up this neutrino client. So Kato, might it be interesting to have the neutrino part or even the full node implementation on the novel, and then run the user interface on the phone, which is communicating to the either full node or your node?
Yeah, totally. We actually 1 year ago I was working on a prototype of a wallet integrating a full node. You probably seen the short video on Twitter of this device scanning a QR code on the screen. So it's a Raspberry Pi 0W with an SD card big enough to contain the full blockchain. But the two issues we had is first the power, second the CPU and RAM is not enough to keep it in sync. If you just disconnect it for a few hours, it will never sync again. So yeah, definitely having your full node at home and connect your lightweight wallet to it is probably the best solution.
Oh, you're muted, Nicolas. You're still muted, Nicolas. Nope, still can't hear you. And he's gone. Yeah, but that's an interesting approach. So, I mean, we have like kind of with Wasabi.
You hear me?
Oh, okay. Now we have. Okay, Nicolas.
Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. Sorry, GT crashed. Yeah. So I was saying like I think lots of people are wasting time. So right now, lots of people are working on solution like neutrino or like on lightweight to have a full node. I think it's a wrong approach because like mobile devices are fundamentally not adapted for this kind of things because you are not always connected. So it means that every time that you try to use your wallet, you need to wait that it syncs. I think it's not good for user experience and it's not good for security because like now you're trusting the miners. So it's pretty bad. Like, I'm way more hopeful in the model that Keto Mariner was saying, where basically everything that is infrastructure wide run on some server, and everything that is user facing run on your phone, and then you connect both together. And I think it's also superior in the sense that for making a proper UI on a phone, then you don't need to find people that know about Bitcoin or that know about Lightning. You can very easily outsource this work because you don't have crypto knowledge involved. It's just calling APIs. And actually, that's why right now there is an explosion of Lightning wallet that are appearing. It's just because it's so much easy to just call an API. So I'm very hopeful of this model, and I personally don't like the trends of advances in neutrino or like in this kind of technology that like you don't verify everything by yourself.
So then what about the project from Satoshi's portal with Francis Pouliard, the Cypher node project, where you have as far as I understand, a Bitcoin full node on the server, but you can calibrate it to your own consensus rules. So, for example, you could have run the no2x consensus rules, or of course the SegWit activation signal. So, how about CipherNode, and how might that be integrated with your own full node?
So, basically, in BTCPay, the way it works is when it's running, like there is a Docker compose with all the different. So Ketominer is not using Docker in his side, so it's different setup. But on the one-click deploy, there is a Docker compose that is running, and that there is a definition of all the images that are needed with all the parameters in the configuration and everything. And basically, if one day like somebody wants, instead of using a Bitcoin, they want to use Bitcoin no2x, for example, they just has one line to change. You know, like here I don't want Bitcoin 0.16, I want Bitcoin no2x 0.16, and then just restart their server and it's done. So people are just in control of their, you know, of their own rules. It's not a matter here, and I don't really know about how Ketominer is doing his update though.
Yeah, Ketominer. So, what are your thoughts on CipherNode, and is it compatible with none?
Actually, I really didn't look into what Francis is doing, so I can't really answer that. But I mean, we want to keep the users as free as possible. I have a small like what node is and what it's not on the website, and what it's not. One thing is making choices for you. What I mean by that is if you want to run C Lightning instead of LND, you're free to do it. You have the root access to the device. We'll be providing alternative versions. I like, for example, you for some reason you want to run 0.16.3 instead of 0.17. You'll have the choice to do that. The only exception is if you try to run btrash on it, it will self-destruct, but that's another story.
It will implode in a big puff of smoke, so don't even try it.
By design, they want to make it impossible to work on small device, so you're fine.
Yeah, probably. I mean, their blockchain would probably not even fit on the drive. So.
Oh, but cheap transactions. Oh wait, there's Lightning integrated on the node as well. I forgot. Yes. So how about integrating Lightning with a payment processor, Nicolas? So how is that doable and in a non-custodial way?
Not possible. Not possible at all. So this is one downside of Lightning as well, is that, so right now, like I said, there is some free hosts provider for BTCPay where if you're a merchant, you don't want your own server, you can just register an account and depends on them. But if you do this, then it means that you don't have Lightning features. And just because, yeah, there is no way to provide Lightning services, why not to somebody else? Why not being a custodian? So yeah, as far as I can see, it's a feature, not a bug.
Yes, and that was something that DJ Booth, the creator of Talica, and I were talking about, because Talica is amazing, but it is hosted, right? You put your Bitcoin address on there, so it's
which one? Which service?
Talicoin. Let me share a screen if that works. Perfect. So basically, you put up your Bitcoin address, and it some additional details. You have a profile page and everything, and basically just it queries the blockchain.info API currently for Bitcoin transactions that have been received on here. Same, however, is not possible for Lightning, as nobody knows the direct payments that you got to your node, right? It's encrypted, so you cannot publicly listen to how much money the address receives. So this model is not possible. which sucks for a donation site like this. It's not unsolvable, but which is great for privacy and worse against chain analysis. So it's quite a good problem to have.
I didn't know this service, but they are very good UI. I think I will inspire myself on this. and
that's why Max, you should run BTCPay as your donation service.
Okay, yeah. So let's compare the two, because I have here. So on the right side, I have the tally coin, and on the left side, I have Nicolas's own fundraiser. And so cool. Let's maybe first talk a bit about Tallycoin, and then Nicolas, you can go through the your own fundraising. So basically, there are two different main pages here on Tallycoin. First is the normal Bitcoin address, single Bitcoin address that generates the QR code and tracks the transaction history. Cool thing is you can set a goal. For me, the goal was 0.3 Bitcoin, which is roughly enough to get a Purism laptop. So far, I've received 0.32 Bitcoin, so we've overshot our goal, which makes this nice sunrise appear here and a nice little music jingle playing. It connects to my profile, which is nice. And you also can say, I want to get $50 worth, and it's going to turn this address into a payment request worth $50 or 0.0077 Bitcoin. Then you also have an introduction video that you can post. You can have your introduction little script. I added some 2 pictures of the amazing Purism, just because it's amazing. Then here on the tag behind, you see the individual transactions that have came through and how many.
Did you have to put your xpub address for this?
Not for this individual page, but we have it here on the profile page. So on the profile, you can connect your Twitter, YouTube, and it is meant for YouTubers and podcasters and Patreon, kind of like a Bitcoin Patreon. And right here, when I say I want to have like $10, it takes not a address like this, but it takes a address from a extended public key that I provided. So Tallycoin has access to billions of my public addresses, not the private keys though. And this is a unique address. It is also integrated with Paynum if you like it to be a bit more private.
That's super cool. I will ping Rockstar Dev about it, because it's the guy that is doing wonder on the UI and UX of BTCPay. And because on my side, I'm very hopeless when it's about JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. But actually, in BTCPay, there is all the backends already ready to do this kind of stuff, basically. Yeah. So it's like really purely a matter of user interface. I think I will think about it more.
Okay, so and let's go through how it works on your side, which I hope you had a nice dinner with your wife.
Yes, like it's planned for this weekend.
Perfect.
So there is 2 ways of accepting donation. So one way is to share this page. Like, for example, this is my page, so you can click on whatever you want. For example, like 10 click on sushi. So like it creates this, and then you can choose above if you want to pay in Lightning, with Lightning, Bitcoin, or whatever here. And you have another way. So there is this page, and there is also the donation button. So the donation button, so go on the main website and create a new account, whatever you want.
Oh, what is the website here now?
But fuck you! You don't have a xpubkey at hand. Maybe I can share my screen.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Do this.
Oh wait, let me stop, and now you should be able to.
And back. On. Okay, I can share now. It's here. Share your screen. Okay. Oh fuck! There is an extension to add. Whatever.
Okay.
But I will. Yeah, I can't. How can I show you? Shit, I can't show you easily, but basically in your store settings, you have a place where you can create what we call a pay button. It like gives you the HTML code to easily access it, to easily share it and click on it. Wait, I sent you on Twitter. Here. So this is this kind of button I show you. So like you can just host that wherever you want, and people just click on it, and it creates an invoice as you saw.
Okay, and so when we have this invoice here, first thing that I see, of course, cool that you have the different options here. That's nice. It already has the amount, still shows the US dollar value, so no complete kick out like like Samurai did, and. Then it asks me though for your contact and refund email. So what is that for?
So it's just like, you know, for you can put whatever you want, but actually I should disable that. So I will do it now. It's just so I have the contact of the person that sent it, so I can send a message like, oh, thank you, or something like this. But actually I should disable it. Okay, try again. Now if you re-click on the button, you will see it. It won't show it. So yeah, and like for Lightning, so you can click on Lightning, change to Lightning. So you can see there is another information if you want to connect to me, or like the invoice.
And this is worth noting actually, because many times, I mean, the Lightning Network is what it is now, and it's very hard to find a channel to route to pay someone. So when you're using BTCPay, you have the choice to directly set up a channel to the endpoint. This is really cool.
So is this a channel directly to BTCPay or a channel directly to you, Nicolas?
I think he's frozen again.
So basically, will opening this node information, this channel, will this make a direct payment channel to BTCPay and therefore everyone using BTCPay?
You hear me?
Or will it? Yes, now I can hear you. Or will this a channel be created directly to the person who has set up this donation?
Yeah. So yes. So it's connecting directly to my. So in this case, it's my donation page, so it's connecting to my node. But if it's your donation page on your BTCPay server, it will be your node directly. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and this way without even knowing, you participate in creating more channels in the Lightning Network, which is cool.
Yep.
And
like nice thing is that because those nodes are always online, then like as you said, it will help routing as well.
What about outgoing channels? Do you have an easy way to set up those in BTCPay?
So I don't. So maybe at one point, maybe they will have an interface to do this kind of stuff in BTCPay, but I try to keep BTCPay focused on what it does best. And that's what we were talking. I'm trying to expose as many services externally as possible, such that other software can do that. So for example, if you are using LND, you can use Zap Wallet to connect directly to your node, and then you use Zap Wallet to create channels. You know, they are focused on their own things. They are focused on the UI, not especially the same part as BTCPay. So I try to expose to everybody, and like that people can plug their own software that work great on it. But if you are using C Lightning right now, the only solution is command line. It's not super good. Once they will have how it's called Spark server, it will be better. But I still need to do work on this.
Okay, and so actually, though, what we really should do is figure out how this then further looks like in the user interface. And because I don't even know how the Lightning interface looked, because last time I used BTCPay, it was an on-chain transaction. So I'm opening up my Eclair wallet. here, my Lightning Eclair wallet with a couple Satoshis on there. And let's go get back to...
Right. I don't know if I have lots of channel. Maybe I have.
Well, let's try it. So I'm now scanning the QR code.
Though.
So
it's $10.
Yeah, all good. I scanned the QR code and I'm pressing pay now.
That's it. You open. When did you open also your Eclair wallet? Because at the beginning you need to sync.
Oh yeah, right. Oh no, it's still syncing. It's at 13%. I forgot about that.
That's what I was talking about. When it's better, I think phones are not meant to be known by themselves.
Very true.
Yeah, that's also the reason you can't receive payments on Eclair wallet through Lightning. As I understand it, the watchtowers should solve that problem, but
yeah, but they need to do it efficiently. They need to change the protocol, and before they change the protocol, I think it will take lots of time. So maybe in 1 or 2 years it will be solved. Hopefully.
And so yeah, nice UX experience right here on the Eclair wallet. It now says failed after 4 attempts. Because it was not yet synced up, so it is currently...
Either is that, or is that my node doesn't have enough liquidity. I can't... it's currently downloading, so...
Yep, exactly.
So speaking of Eclair wallet, I actually made a transaction with my Eclair wallet yesterday, and I purchased 3 tickets for the New York hackathon. And since I can't go there, I'm donating them to whoever wants to go and can go. One guy already contacted me, so there are still 2 tickets to go. So feel free to contact me on Twitter if you want one.
So yeah, to the WCN crew, if you want to support the amazing FOMO Lightning Hack Day, please go. And now you don't even have an excuse that the $5 that it's worth when you pay in Lightning. So go out there and go experience it because this is really amazing. And by the way, it will be streamed. The talks will be streamed and live streamed on the WCN. So Kato, you're not going to miss a lot. You're going to miss the human meet space interaction, but at least you're going to get the information conveyed on the talks here on the World Crypto Network.
By the way, I think I've seen you, Nicolas, on the schedule of the talks.
Where?
In the Lightning Hackathon in New York, or I'm mistaken?
I think it was the one in Tokyo. There was one in Tokyo. I presented BTCPay as well. They asked me in New York, but recently I traveled too much. I want to get to I want to rest a little bit and code.
Exactly. It's nice traveling around, but we need stuff to get done. So good that you stay home and code.
Try again the donation.
Yes, I'm trying.
Now maybe it's sync finally.
Exactly. So I'm scanning the QR code.
And $10, it seems lots of liquidity to me, I think.
Well, I have enough on my notes or on my phone. So let's see. Pressing pay now, and nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm not too much connected.
Payment failed after 3 attempts. So again, UX check. So huge red screen. Okay.
So create a channel with me.
Oh yeah, but do I have? Oh, I don't have.
You don't have
too many on-chain funds here left. But what we could maybe do is try less. So you're not going to get sushi. You're going to get a coffee.
Coffee.
The classic.
I can accept coffee.
So okay, again sharing screen so that your peers can see.
I have no idea how well connected I am with this node.
So
actually, I think I can see with that wallet. It's a node info. Click.
No.
Yep, this one.
Well, but I don't want to connect a direct node.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, perfect. Now it worked. It didn't work on the first time. It imported the on-chain transaction, not the Lightning transaction. So pressing on pay now. And
it doesn't want.
it's pending. No. And payment failed again. Big red screen after 3 times. Okay, so you're not gonna get sushi. You're not gonna get coffee. Let's try
fresh dirt.
Fresh dirt. Come on, at least a bit of dirt.
I think most of people that are connecting to my node are like Eclair node, and basically when you are an Eclair node, you don't an Eclair wallet, you don't participate for routing.
Can you send me the link of the donation page? I have mine here.
Yep.
And even the dirt did not work.
I think no people connecting to me.
I have the Bitcoin Lightning wallet as well. Oh yeah, right, but I don't have any channels open on this one. Okay, unfortunate.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges as well in Lightning, where you want to have some liquidity coming. I saw like some people, some exchange, I think, will be well placed to do this. Imagine that that an exchange support Lightning network, withdraw and deposit. What an exchange could do is, instead of withdrawing inside your wallet, it will open a channel to you, and so it can provide some liquidity to their customer. I hope one day they might do this.
Yeah, and
same for me. The only channel I have open is actually with the BTCPay from Fulmo, and they don't have outgoing channels. So.
Oh no!
I thought I could have my sushi, but no.
Okay, well, what I will do is I will open a channel to you. Oh no, it passed through actually.
Oh, it did? Can you share screen to show the?
I don't have that plugin, but I will try to pay yours now.
Okay, yeah. So let
complete to
so
USD.
Apparently Fulmo has some outgoing channels.
I have it.
Okay, yeah, done.
There it is. Invoice has been paid. So well, it says, oh no, due. Okay, nothing's due. Okay, so cool.
Except we don't have your picture anymore.
Oh, but do you see this shared screen?
No.
Yep.
It's grayed out actually. It's not moving.
What?
Is it only me or?
I think it's only you. Yeah,
okay.
I saw it.
Okay. Hopefully the recording got it as well. But that's nice. So nice, slick interface. I like the design. And it does work, but maybe not on the first try. And Piers, remember, this is early alpha, right? We are still in the baby shoes and need a lot more work to be done.
So one thing I'm interested into Lightning as well is case that don't involve, so like Lightning for payment works well for small payment as long as you are well connected. If you are not well connected, then it's pain in the ass. But I think other thing that Lightning can do and that have been a bit neglected until now is like service with micropayments. Like one thing I would like to do, for example, is imagine that you are hosting a server in a service provider, like you pay directly from your node every 5 minutes, for example. I think this kind of stuff can be cool. I hope like more use cases that are more suited for Lightning that are only suited for Lightning, because before you couldn't do micropayment will pop up.
Exactly. And so now,
remember those guys. Do you know what this is?
21?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they try like to do this, let's say, streaming payments. They invented payment channels before it was cool, probably too early. And there was this paid APIs system on the 2-1 computer. That was pretty cool actually. Maybe in the HTTP protocol there is actually an error code which says payment required. Maybe there would be some way to interface that with Lightning and BTCPay to make like micropayments when you use some API. For example, let's say you build a competitor to Google Maps to integrate on your website, and every time you use the API, you just make a 1 Satoshi payment to the API instead of paying some monthly fee.
So it's a good idea, and actually I wanted to do that kind of one thing a bit like this as well. Is so for example, when you go in Switzerland and you want to buy Bitcoin at the train station, in Switzerland you can buy Bitcoin in the train stations, in the where they sell the tickets, but actually you need a phone number, and which means that if you are like a tourist, you don't have this kind of phone number. And I was thinking about a service I'm seeing for, but like a service in BTCPay, which will connect to your phone, and like people will be able to, if they want to receive by API, they will be able to reach. You will be able to expose your phone to other people, and so like imagine that you are Swiss, you want to make some bucks. You say, okay, $5 for receiving whatever SMS that you want, and then I think it will be cool stuff to do. And adapted for micropayment. That this will be adapted for micropayments.
Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking about your idea of paying servers like automatically every few minutes. I asked a question on Twitter yesterday. How much would you pay for 1 second of VPN service using Lightning? Because we are hosting VPS servers, and everyone read VPN instead of VPS. So now we are thinking about making a VPN as well. And yeah, I would like to really make it pay as you go and only when you're using it. The only way we found now is to you preload your account with some time, and then every time you use this time is counted. But
if you start moving on this, tell me. It's interesting because I'm also interested into making it possible. So inside BTCPay, where inside BTCPay you say, okay, for this guy, I allow him to draw on my Lightning server like a max of, I don't know, $10 a day, and then they can just, and you as a provider, you will just use this API to say, okay, can you send me money?
Yeah,
I think this will be cool. So yeah, if you plan to go that way, and start moving, let me know, because I will definitely add this in BTCPay, and we can agree on an API to do this.
That's very cool. And I had a question for you. What about split payments? Imagine you are an event organizer and you have to pay some caterer, you have to pay some security guys, you have to pay the location for your event. And in France, you probably know we have such, and probably in other countries, such a stupid problem. You can't, let me use the French word, encaisser pour le compte d'un tiers. You can't take money for someone else.
Yes.
So the processor would, I see some way to circumvent that if the payment processor could directly split the money and send it to different wallets. So for example, when you make this transaction on BTCPay, instead of sending to one person, you would send 10% to this one, 20% to this one, and 70% to another one.
Yeah, but there is two issues. So right now, the only way to do this, technically speaking, is to use BIP70. And that is a shitty proposal, actually. But right now, there is no alternative, and nobody write an alternative. So it depends. It depends on protobuf, and it depends also that the client can handle PKY. So it's not a good proposal. So, and also, if you want to do this, you need to do like BitPay, in the sense that you cannot show to people the address, the Bitcoin address and the amounts, and so lots of wallets don't support it. So I think it's not very feasible. And there is also another problem where, no, actually, I was thinking it takes also more space in the blockchain, because imagine you have a small payment and you split it in many parts, like a $5 payment, and you split it in many parts. The cost of those UTX, so if the fee rise, then it will not be like
probably
like
the solution is your hot wallet idea from before that you just could be split at the hot wallet place.
But yeah, you can't. In some law you can't receive for other people. But it's.
I was also thinking about something very much closer to you, because actually, when we created this node or service and this box, we committed to give 10% back to BTCPay, so to you, basically, and of any our revenues.
Of course, it will be reinvested into making BTCPay greater.
so the sooner you will implement this splitting feature, the sooner you will be getting money every time we get money.
Yeah. But in this case, it means that your users will need to support BIP70, and so they might boycott you for that.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Well, and what again, like, I'm a huge fan of the Wasabi wallet, and it just is a beautiful piece of software. And of course, one huge part of it is here the coin join feature. So now, wow, anonymity set of 22 went up by 2. Amazing. More anonymity, more liquidity.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited by what Adam is doing. So Adam, for the story, the first time Adam contacted me, it was a bug in Bitcoin that was firing up only on Hungarian computers. And since he played a lot with Bitcoin, and like now he's contributing, he like ported the book on Gitbook because before it was a PDF. And like right now he's doing this Wasabi wallet, and it's very exciting. They hired. So you know the UI that you see, actually it's not it's native, it's not Electron, and they are using Avalonia, which is a .NET Core project for making UI work on several platforms easily. And they hired the guy that is doing this. So even from a C# developer's perspective, I'm super excited by this. And yeah, if I can help. So one thing I wanted to do also in BTCPay is to give incentive to people to use it. And one of the incentive is if people can make easily money out of it. And one idea, but here you still have the problem of you need a hot wallet. But imagine that BTCPay have access to a hot wallet, then you can provide liquidity for coin joins. And get compensated for this. So it's still too early to. I don't really know how works the coin join that Adam is working on. But if one day we can, like, kind of interoperate between Wasabi and BTCPay, I will definitely do.
So maybe you could just take your xpub from your Wasabi wallet and put it as a destination address of your BTCPay server, and as long as your Wasabi wallet is on some always on running computer at home, you could still do that, no?
So sorry for doing.
If you put the xpub of your Wasabi wallet as a wallet for your BTCPay.
Yes. So there is a risk by doing this. There is one risk. So it's the gap limits. If people like create lots of invoices and don't pay them, then Wasabi wallet eventually won't see the payments because of the gap limits. So it's a very big UX problems. I don't know how Adam is dealing with this. I guess he has a very big gap limit, but I don't know how good it will be.
Interesting. Yes. And I just realized that the same applies to Tallycoin, because you give away your xpub, and it used to be that every time you refresh the page, that a new address is being generated. But yeah, that drops out of the. I think it's only 20 addresses that a standard wallet checks, and so 20 refreshes. That's nothing. But BTCPay changed that, so that's fixed. Now I understand why.
So the way I'm trying to deal with it with BTCPay. So last week I worked a lot on a scan UTXO set. So basically, since 0.17 of Bitcoin Core, they added a new RPC call that is called scan UTXO set, and where you can give a list of addresses, and you can ask to find it inside the UTXO, so you can recover the funds, even if you have a big gap. And I implemented that inside NBix Pro. I need still to put that inside BTCPay, but it's for sure it's not a good. I think it's not a good a good user experience. But well, at least people can recover their wallet.
Exactly, that's something. And so one additional feature that is already implemented in Tallycoin and nobody uses it are the reusable payment codes, and of course implemented in the paynim format by Samurai Wallet. So what are your thoughts on these?
Reusable payment. Yeah, I didn't see the proposal. I don't know how it works.
Oh, okay. So it's a different form of an extended public key, but you only derive. So it's the when scanning this QR code, the paynim QR code. Let me share screen. So when scanning here the paynim QR code, you generate on your phone a address directly. So the address is not generated client side, server side, it's generated client side. And works with some metadata in the blockchain. And again, here Tallycoin will not be able to detect the interdonation because Tallycoin has no idea what address you personally are deriving from this reusable payment code.
But how does the wallet that is sending the money can know the address?
Because this wallet knows the secret that you need for deriving
Okay.
It's similar to a payment channel, but on chain. I'm not certain though. I really need to talk to some people more about
okay, it's interesting. Okay. Okay, I need to think about it. Maybe there is cool stuff to do, but because I saw this feature inside Samurai Wallet, I had no freaking idea what it was. I didn't click on it. So
there's so many features in Samurai.
Yeah, paynims in BTCPay would be great, but as you said, Max, the problem is that the server has no way to know that a payment was made. So
yeah. Shit.
We need an online version of Samurai Wallet which calls back the BTCPay server to say that the payment was made.
Yeah, it's problematic.
And speaking of Samurai who recklessly removed the conversion in an application, Nicolas, can you use in BTCPay some cryptocurrency as the base currency?
Yes. So you in the API you can select which is the currency, the destination currency, and if you choose like the destination, the invoice currency is BTC, then your invoice is in BTC.
And if someone wants to pay with a Litecoin, it will get converted anyway. It will go through euros or dollars, or how does it work?
So here is the thing. So in BTCPay, I developed a small scripting language for the merchant to be able to say how it calculates his rates. So like by default, it just works with USD and some pairs of currency because I'm using a coin average. If you use another exchange, then they might not have this, the pair to convert. So in this case, the merchant can use the scripting language where he say, okay, if you want converting Litecoin to Bitcoin, then you take, like, for example, the price of Litecoin in USD on Bittrex, and you multiply it by the price of on Coinbase of USD and BTC, and so they can really decide what to use for the conversions. So yeah, they can do this. It's up to the merchant to configure this.
And when a button to disable fiat totally in BTCPay?
Well, yeah, actually you can design. I mean, you need a way to provide how to convert BTC and on LTC, and there is nothing that is like coupled with fiat at all, actually.
Kick it out.
Yep. Like yeah, you can make your invoice in Litecoin, or if you put BTC in the conversion, in the page of the payment, it's written 1 BTC equal 1 BTC. So
That's great.
At least you can do
one Bitcoin is still 1 BTC.
it could be Satoshis as like the upper thing and Bitcoin as the lower thing.
But actually, there was a problem with this. So some merchants in like to add a small, sometimes a small spread on the exchange rate, because there is lots of fluctuation. So like they say, okay, I will take a small spread. And the problem was if the invoice was in BTC, actually it was also on the price. So like it was 1 BTC equal 1.0002 BTC. Like people were not understanding it. I fixed it. Now 1 BTC is 1 BTC.
So you made it a stable coin again.
I made Bitcoin stable again. You cut your mic.
Yeah, I was laughing too hard. That was cool. Yeah. So okay, but talking about different currencies that are being implemented, and especially not just the conversion rate, but really having the back end of that as well. The thing is, I do understand the value of choice, right, and that the user should make that end choice. But for me personally, as an end user, I'm only going to use Bitcoin. So all these other shitcoins are nonsense to me. And for me, I just ignore them, right? Same with fiat. But for you as a developer, even though you might be a Bitcoin maximalist, then, or just someone with reason, then you still have to devote developer time on integrating all that stuff. So where's the trade-off of providing the user with enough like choice, but yourself still living by your maxims and by devoting your scarce developer time to some good use?
Yeah, so here is how I handle it. So everything is developed in .NET, and all part of the stacks, I'm developing it. So from the base library that is in Bitcoin to BTCPay to it's all me that is developing this. And I basically may manage to refactor and Bitcoin such that people that make a software working on Bitcoin, if they want to support shitcoin, they just have to flip one button, one line of code. And the weights, so I'm not integrating shitcoin by myself. I always say it's like up to the community of each shitcoin to do it. So like I made some small documentation, some small like test case. So like when they try to implement it, they can run the test case and see if it works, then it's correctly implemented. And actually, like lots of people are doing this. So like it's up to their own community to fix shit. So if I break something by doing something and it works on Bitcoin but not on some shitcoin, then it's a shitcoin problem and they need to update their stuff.
That's a good approach.
Yeah, it doesn't take too much of my time. But there is still some stuff that can be interesting with shitcoins. So another shitcoin that you learned recently is Liquid. You heard about it from Blockstream?
I did a lot of shows about Liquid on the WCN, so a lot of thoughts already went into it. Yeah.
I think it's cool, but I still consider it a shitcoin anyway. But the nice thing is that so if one day BTCPay support Liquid and support atomic swap are not that difficult to do. Actually, I work quite a lot on it. It's almost done, but I still need to do some work on it. But if it happens, then it means that you have the ultimate tool to protect your privacy, because you can do an atomic swap with somebody on Liquid like the peg is 1-1, so 1 BTC equal 1 liquid BTC, because like it's pegged. So like you can exchange BTC against Litecoin, against liquid, and then later you can do the reverse operation, like in small amounts, and so it come back to your to the main chain, but it's inside an address that is completely unrelated to your first address on Bitcoin. So I think it's pretty exciting for this reason.
And then you throw some Chaumian coin joins on top and at the bottom of that stack, and they're pretty good to go.
Yeah, completely. It's I think it's it's very. I think it's very interesting if people start using it for this. I think things would get interesting.
Oh yeah. The question though that I'm asking is that if this peg will hold, because you said you can switch, you can atomic swap from one currency to the other, and there is no peg for the atomic swaps. That's the free market, and you set the exchange rate. So it's Alice and Bob talking to each other and bartering how many Bitcoin they will exchange for liquid Bitcoin. There is no cryptographic peg here in Forest. And there might be arbitrage, but only federators can execute on that arbitrage. So quite curious if that peg will.
This is quite. I think it's very interesting. I don't know what will happen, because in one sense it's true, you have 1 BTC equal 1 liquid BTC. In code, it's like this. Like they cannot create LBTC from thin air. But as you said,
federation, not for Alice and Bob.
Yes. This is a very interesting point, and I don't know how it will happen. Like it's true that maybe like at one point that somebody is stuck with LBTC, he cannot get unpegged because of regulation issues. So then he might want to like discount them. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what will happen. Wait, I refresh the page. You're lagging.
I think we're good. Oh, and now he's gone. He should be back. So yeah, Hillebrand, what are your thoughts on these sidechains and maybe using them for privacy?
Okay, so sorry, it cut down. Every once in a while, it just crashed. And Ketominer, I didn't see Ketominer anymore.
So when you were talking about this using these sidechains and atomic swaps for privacy, I was thinking about the talk of Andreas in Riga last year, when he said that actually there is a money laundering license with the banking license. And this year in Riga, someone said that actually we already have crypto banks. It's called the exchanges. So is actually LBTC money laundering for exchanges?
You mean because the exchanges will use liquid as to transfer Bitcoin to one another? You mean?
Yeah. From what I understood, it's the main application actually is to move large amounts of Bitcoin from one exchange to another off-chain. So.
Yep. I don't know if they are in this. I think right now they are not doing it. I wonder, but yeah, I know that I think it was Samsung that mentioned that Liquid will be open to the public. So like it will not be only for exchanges, for anybody.
Well, yeah, but I think still, I guess it will be for whales, not for normal people like us.
Why not?
The federation is made up of all these exchanges, and they might be the biggest users of these networks, absolutely. But Green Address is working on a mobile integration to Liquid, so you can have on your Green Address wallet access to Liquid and to any Liquid transaction of any size if you atomic swap in them. So that's interesting. And what's really mind-blowing in regard to the privacy aspect, it's that it's not just confidential transactions, which obfuscate how much of the currency you're sending, but it actually also has confidential assets. So you don't even know which asset, which currency you are sending. So we have no clue what exchanges are sending and how much. And for that goes for everyone. So that is beautiful. I love it.
That's the interesting part for me on Liquid. The only interesting part for me.
When BISC on Liquid.
Hmm?
When BISC on Liquid.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe.
To found your BISC wallet or something.
Yeah, as well, I was thinking about BTCPay integration to BISC, but I never use BISC right now. Like it started this year, right? Like several people started talking to me about it.
It was announced last year, but it's really starting to take off now.
I mean, it was a bit square before, and that has been around since 2012, 2013. So the idea has been around for quite some time. But in this new branding and with this new format, and of course with the DAO, this is really rather recent. But the software
as far as I understood, their user interface is quite terrible. That's the only problem they have. I didn't try it by myself.
It's usable. Let me start it up. I like it. I use it quite a lot.
I think the main issue is like packaged all in one, and it's running Tor, so it's pretty heavy to run. But no, I think you
need to run Tor.
Yes.
No, it's running Tor inside BISC directly. So
everything.
Because at one point I wanted in BTCPay, I wanted to add a feature where you can announce to people that follow your server when you want to sell Bitcoins. A bit like, like your private advertisement page for when you sell or buy Bitcoins.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was mentioning that, like several people told me like BISC is the way to go. So I was thinking maybe there is something to do with BTCPay and BISC, but I didn't see. I didn't research too much about it right now. Okay.
Also, and this is the user interface. It's I think it's actually quite nice, and it has the order book, right? It has the charts, so you can easily pick out the individual people who are trying to buy US dollar, and you will sell them Bitcoin, or you can check out the peers who want to sell their Bitcoin, and you give them some fiat. So it's quite accessible, but yes, it's not perfect. And I guess the focus was, as same with Wasabi Wallet, not too much on the user interface, but rather on the back end. And now that this is up and running and actually working without any great flaws, for a couple of years now, that now they can focus more on making it a beautiful UX.
Okay, very, very interesting. I will look at that closely if there is something to do, because like one thing will be nice is if I can provide BISC interface inside the BTCPay server, so like you can easily like deploy it and having your advertisements always online without you needed to start the software. It can be cool. But
so
I didn't.
If you're a maker on BISC, you have to be running it at all times.
Okay,
that's one of the constraints.
Yes. So
I was thinking about Tor.
Be done by BTCPay.
Yeah, I was thinking about Tor, and I have one question. I actually already started asking that on GitHub in one issue, but why this requirement to set the external address of BTCPay server?
Okay, so the requirement is several places inside the. So, for example, when you generate an invoice, there is a link to this invoice that is the invoice URL, and this is generated from the backend. And I have no fucking idea what the BTCPay. I have no fucking idea of your front URL. So that's why I need it.
Why not just use a relative URL for that?
Because it will break compatibility with BitPay clients.
Again, BitPay. Because one issue we have now, for example, is we would like to expose our servers on hidden service on Tor, and we can't because it will have two different external addresses. one for the regular internet and one for the hidden service.
So one thing that you can do, but I need to see where are the limitations. Basically, if you don't set external URL, BTCPay is looking a header, like a X forward port or stuff like this.
Yeah, and from what I understand, it memorizes the first one it sees, and then you can't use it with another one anymore.
No, it don't memorize it now, I think. You do it for every request.
Because we get no, I mean I will amend this issue if you want with some other tests. But yeah, okay, I understand better now, because yeah, you mentioned some limitations, but I didn't know it's some BitPay inheritage we are dragging.
Yeah, and there is not only this. There is in the checkout page, I'm connecting to a WebSocket to get the notification of payments. And so for connecting to the WebSocket, I don't know why I'm not using reactive address. They should have a reason. I don't remember why, but maybe it was not working properly without this. But I don't know. I need to try it again. But I remember I got problems to make it work. So maybe yeah, there is a way to fix that. But you need to test it and try to change the code and see if it's always running, basically.
Yeah, I think one day I will finally force myself to do some .NET. But
yeah, it's very
not Microsoft.
No, but don't worry, it's very easy to use. Like you have Visual Studio Code. If you want, you can run it. Like all the dependencies for development are packaged inside the Docker Compose. So like it's very easy to get started. You won't have any issue.
And since we are talking open source everything, as I understand, .NET is now more or less the Microsoft version of .NET is more or less open source. But why didn't you start, for example, with Mono instead?
So it has been very different. So in the .NET world, initially there was .NET Framework. So .NET Framework always exists. It's closed source. It's only running on Windows. And then there is a small group of developers that inside Microsoft that wanted to do a whole, a new stack from scratch, like no concept of backward compatibility, like everything from scratch. And they tried to do it, and basically, they were not expecting that it has lots of success, or like, it was quite experimental. And it turns out that when Ballmer left and Satya Nadella came, like he gave a huge push to everything that was open source. And people starting using in .NET Core find it very easy to use. So same thing with .NET Core, you can do a command line using VIM for developing. It works very well. It's done for command line actually. When Mono is way bigger. It's like a full runtime you have to install on the machine. It's like it's not like Mono is not lightweight. So that's why now you have two different ones. Mono right now it's used mainly for mobile device, and also Mono has some GTK Sharp, which is a way to have cross-platform like GTK on everywhere. When in .NET Core you have Avalonia that is still in development. That's what Wasabi is using. That is not as stable as this. So yeah, that's how it did. Like when you will use .NET Core, you will find it very slick. It's like pure command line Linux mine, and you don't feel at all that it comes from Microsoft, and you don't feel the weight. Mono has some kind of weight of legacy stuff. You don't feel this with .NET Core. So both will continue to coexist, I think. And both are sharing source code as well. Like .NET Core is fully open source. So like lots of things that .NET Core are doing, they are like copy pasting it into Mono as well. So it's very interesting. The .NET space is very interesting these days.
Yeah, we've been a long way from the closed source Microsoft we know from a few years ago to what it is today, and the recent announcement of the patents is just.
It's really like Ballmer's, had a very different mindset than Satya Nadella, and Microsoft had lots of developers, but they were like kind of constrained by the open management at this time. And like Satya Nadella put a culture of developer first and open source first, and that's when everything changed. So like in Ballmer's mind, he didn't like open source because it gives incentive to people to use Linux instead of Windows Server. And Satya Nadella say, okay, we should push developer also to deploy on Linux. So it's completely different mindset. They are a new company, I think.
Open source everything.
They are doing it. They are very serious about it.
Yeah, that's nice. Maybe to swing it back to some of the use cases of the BTCPay server. And of course, it is a payment processor, so you are selling something, right? What are the things that can be sold with BTCPay server? In what specific commercial areas can it be used?
So when you have an online store that you are selling stuff, like on WooCommerce typically, or on Drupal or whatever, then you can just plug it easily to BTCPay. There's plugins for this. It's I don't know so the use case. So there's the use case of merchants, like I told you, and like sometimes people think that if you are not a merchant, you don't use BTCPay. But there is also the fact that, like I said, when you have your online server, then you can start doing stuff that you can't do elsewhere, like receiving payment while you are offline. You cut down your mic, so I don't hear you, Max. So you mute your mic, so I didn't hear you.
All good.
And so for another example, that BTCPay will soon like have the scan UTXO sets. So finally, you can recover a wallet without leaking your privacy on election. So there is like kind of stuff like this. You can send directly. If you are using Ledger wallets, actually it's way easier to use BTCPay than using Ledger Live for sending money with it. So there's also it's user friendly and it's fun, like it's always evolving, and like if you have good feedback, we can incorporate it quite easily. So yeah, it's I don't know. I will see what people do with it.
Yeah, actually, first time I've set up BTCPay server, and I wanted to put my wallet address in it, and I see this message about connecting the Ledger wallet directly to it. I said, no way.
Yeah,
that's too cool. Yeah, you just plug your wallet, you unlock, and basically it does everything for you. That's really cool.
Yep, because lots of like from external user perspective, they don't know what is a xpubkey. They don't know what is a if you are SegWit or not. So like when I added this, I am, but like most people don't. So like when I added this, basically like setting up the xpubkey before this was like the #1 recurring question that was always coming. When I start saying people just use Ledger, then suddenly no people like ask anything anymore. So it solved it very well.
Perfect. And so I'm specifically asking for digital information because we have here in the World Crypto Network the new Shield Bitcoin to the Max, which is a Patreon early bird show. So I've pre-recorded a batch right here with all this stuff, which is not yet on YouTube for everyone.
You are having connection issue. I don't know if it's me only.
Can you hear me?
I can't see your screen actually. Wait.
Oh, I think the screen should be recorded. So I hope.
Okay.
I hope that works. And so basically, what we want to do in Tallycoin is that when you have when you pay either a let me switch to this here. So basically, it should say like different episodes that you can quote unquote buy through donating and get access to these private videos. So basically generating the address with a payment amount and then registering it and automatically releasing the link to the currently private version of, for example, the video on scarcity. How could that be done still on the Tallycoin website, but with BTCPay in the backend?
Yeah, it will be quite easy to do some kind of thing like this. Right now in BTCPay, there is a tab that is called apps. And right now you have only one apps is the donation page I show you, like point of sales app. But actually in the future I want to add several one. And this might be a very good idea. Like, okay, you want to make a share a link and people need to pay for it, and then you release it when it's done. It's also a good idea like for crowdfunding. If you reach a certain, if you reach your crowdfunding target, then you release automatically the link. There's cool stuff to do for it. It's definitely a great idea. I like it.
Okay, perfect. Really interesting, because that is, I think, the feature that is still not missing, but that is still really, really interesting with Tallycoin.
Yep.
Is giving something back to these amazing supporters that collaborate and get together. And this is, I think, for BTCPay Server, which we wanted to integrate in Tallycoin already, is really the solution to this specific problem which we have. So that is fantastic. So DJ Booth, sit your ass down and program the BTCPay Server into Tallycoin. That's what we need. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So how was the app development on a BTCPay Server in general? What different types of apps and stores have been used in BTCPay?
What kind of stores and apps?
What has the community done with BTCPay Server? What are some projects that excite you?
Well, the biggest merchant I think right now is like CoinCard, I guess. But I can't track the users because everybody's using their own instance, so I don't really know. But the biggest I know is like CoinCard. There has been also Halong Mining that was using it as well. They process quite a lot of payment with it, and so people using it. So I'm very excited by what Keto Miner is doing. Actually, wait. Once again, just refresh the page because I don't see. I see him again. Yeah. So I'm very excited by what Keto Miner is doing with his box with everything set up on it. It's very exciting. And what else? What are good?
I've read on the Slack there is some chain store. I think it's clothing stores in Italy who are using a hosted version of BTCPay, but for in-store payments. So basically, you just you can pay by card. You can just ask to pay with Bitcoin or Litecoin, and the numbers were crazy. Like first day, they processed 130 payments or something.
Wow.
That's so you have actually some physical stores running on BTCPay currently. So cool. I thought I would be the first with my small box, but some people went faster and they are just using a hosted online version of it. That's crazy.
There is also the Coke machine. You saw it, like somebody did a Coke machine on Raspberry Pi. And actually, the QR code they are showing is basically they are querying the BTCPay API to get it.
That is so cool, amazing. Yes, and I think just BTCPay is a perfect addition to the Lightning Network. It really is perfect, easy accessible, and then you can build together with that. Like you see these e-bikes that are now being unlocked by a Satoshi payment. Which is amazing, and I do think that these people are running BTCPay. I'm not certain, but definitely it's just a lot of cool stuff coming, not just to Bitcoin in general, but specifically to Lightning and to payment processing and to running your own full node. which we absolutely should do. So, Michael, do you have anything that you still want to touch on? Any last words?
No, I just want to thank Nicolas again for the great work he did, because I mean, yeah, I think you really changed the industry for good.
Thanks.
That's really cool, and your goal of making BitPay obsolete is achieved. So that achievement unlocked. You should make some sticker or some badge or something.
Now there is one thing I plan to work on that, but it's so much thing to do, and so one thing where BitPay is still not dead, and I can get them on this, is like for merchants that want instant fiat conversion for accounting purpose. And actually, there is a way to beat them at this, is by making it easy for exchanges to give BTCPay, to host BTCPay for their own customers. So it means that any exchanges will be able to host, very easily provide payment services to their customers. And this will really kill BitPay, because all exchanges already comply with regulation, while BTCPay is always fighting to try to get regulation around the place. But like local exchanges already satisfy the regulation and already have proper marketing with their target audience. So like this feature, if I achieve it, this will be what killed them. But I have only 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a very cool idea. If exchanges become the payment processors for their customers, they can do this instant conversion, but also some interfacing with some accounting software. I'm working currently with some guys who want a BTCPay instance. They are running invoicing and accountability software for crypto. And they're actually my first hosted BTCPay server.
It's very interesting, because like I was thinking about adding a accounting feature in BTCPay, and this one, it's soon. I want to do it in the short term, and having a proper this kind of people, so the people that you're hosting might know very well what they need, what I need to record to make their life easy. So I would like feedback on this. It's very interesting.
Yeah, feedback is always important, and getting back to developers and telling them what's good, telling them what you don't like, and making some suggestions is really important and really useful.
Yep. The thing is that so when you develop a new software, it's very important to be able to dog food, but in some case you can't really dog food because you are not like the proper, you are not the how can I say, you are not the target of your software. So for example, in Bitcoin, my library is very, very well maintained because I'm dog fooding every day. I'm using it, so every time there is something wrong, I can fix it. But BTCPay, typically, it's like for merchant. I'm not a merchant myself. So it was very important to have this Slack channel where all the merchants come and like give me lots of feedback. So Mike from CoinCard helped a lot BTCPay by doing this. And same thing like for the accounting features. I'm not an accountant. I don't own a business that need to, deal with this kind of problems. So like having definitely somebody that, can take the time to tell me like what is the proper UX and what specifically what kind of data in what kind of format, as much as in as much precision as they can. It's super valuable, and I always want to push people to be as much specific as they can about their idea, because I don't have time to fill the blank, and but if they put effort, I will make it happen.
Perfect. Very nice. So go to the Slacks, go to the GitHubs, and
Yep.
issue your help, your support, whatever you need. And most importantly, use the software, right? Test it, try it out. And when you like it, continue using it, give the feedback, and tell a friend, right? And and when you really like it, then you go to the donation, right? And there it is. Oh no, I lost the donation here, right here. And maybe don't just give him some fresh dirt, but maybe get him some sushi, maybe even a dinner with the wife, and use Lightning, use Bitcoin here. Look at that. Lightning payments right there. If you want to test Lightning, test it on something like this. It's a bit more than testnet, but still it goes to a good cause. So absolutely, thank you, Nicolas. You've made something awesome with BTCPay Server. It is fabulous. It truly is, and it's a beautiful piece of software, exactly what we needed, and lots of problems that it is solving, and lots of new possibilities that it is opening. So exactly what we needed. Thank you very much.
Yep. No problem.
So Piers, follow BTCPay on Twitter. That's always where you can get the best news. Here is also a link to the Slack and to the testnet, to the mainnet demo that leads you here to get some to send Nicolas, who's also on Twitter.
There's my donation page on my Twitter.
oh, that's the donation. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then also check out Kato Miner. He is doing a lot of cool work with the novel, cool open source hardware that runs your Bitcoin full node, your Lightning node, and maybe some Litecoin if you like to add. So also really good follow and nice to stay up to date. Piers, thank you for your support on the Purism fundraiser, and we made it 0.32 Bitcoin. So this means that I can already order the Purism laptop and give you in-depth reviews of unboxing and sending or just using this cool software and hardware and seeing where it takes us. So thank you very much. And as I said, new show on the WCN, Bitcoin to the Max, pre-recorded, quite short. I like it. Hope you too. If you want early access to that, hopefully soon on Tallycoin, which is an amazing website. But for now, it is on the Patreon. So thank you very much for supporting the World Crypto Network so that we can continue doing cool shows like this and increasing production quality and all these good things. So again, thank you very much for joining me, Kato Miner and Nicolas.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolas.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Piers, see you on the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye.